Welcome to Swatches. I'm Clint and this is Diana. We are professional illustrators and art instructors with Swatches. And in this stream, we are going to be reviewing the color roughs for the Harry Potter Art Challenge. And it is unofficial. We are not connected to the Wizarding World property by any measure. We just thought it would be a good subject to create some scenes around. And evidently you must think so too, because the tickets sold out in record time.
It's very fast.
Yes.
So thank you to all the participants. And we wanted to choose a property that a lot of people were familiar with and felt comfortable with. So this is what ended up being chosen.
I'm going to run through just a couple of announcements and then we will get into the art reviews. Firstly, we've already had the sketches review. That's 2 weeks ago. So if you want to see that live stream, it should just be on the channel. It won't be under the videos tab. It will be under the live stream tab. So make sure. It just
says live.
Live. Yeah. So go check on that. And then 2 weeks, we will be doing another stream where we'll be looking at the submitted finals of the images that we're going to look at today. So be sure to stick around if you want to see how these wrap up later. Now, we do have a new workshop out on the Swatches Academy site. It is designing a scene. We originally put this together as a bonus, really.
It was for the Lightbox attendees. So if anyone watching, if you already got this from us at Lightbox, don't go buy it again. It's the same workshop. But we just decided to make it available on the website for everyone else as well. So that didn't come and see us there. So you can grab that now on the website. I think it's $37.
It's $37.
$37.
Yeah. It is not a full course, which is mainly what our website has. We have 8-week full courses. This is a workshop. It is only 2 lessons, but it does have some assignment sheets to practice the things that are covered. It is a good introduction to the idea and the approach of putting together scenes, compositions, trying to convey narrative and that sort of thing with your sketches.
Also, if anyone has any feedback or if they enjoy the workshop format, these shorter video lessons, not full 8-week parts that go over one specific topic. If you enjoy that format, if you like that and you'd like to see more of that, please let us know either in the Discord, in the chat, or by email so that we know that that's something that we should produce more of.
Yep. Okay, the stream looks good. Nobody's saying there's any issues, so let's go ahead and get into it. Now, guys, if you have any questions during the course of the live stream, let us know. We've got the comments up here, so we'll keep an eye on that. We'll try to answer your questions as we go. Certainly, if you are one of the artists that we're reviewing your work, give a shout out. Let us know that you are here and that we can have a little back and forth with you, perhaps. Okay. Now, it is really late for Ita, so perhaps
we should start with Ita.
Let's start there. Now, this illustration is about the Acromantula ambush. We wrote all of these briefs. We just made up some scenes. So this is the giant spider, and it is in the Forbidden Forest. The sketch really was quite strong when we looked at that 2 weeks ago. There hasn't been that much change to the drawing. It didn't need that much change. So now it's all about really the colors, the values, and the lighting setup. Some of the images we are going to look at have some paintovers that we've already gone through and put in some edits to save time during the live stream. Some do not. This one does have some, and we'll turn that on in just a moment. But let's talk it through for a minute. And in case you guys are wondering, we've got some Slurpees. So if you
Sorry
see
if
us...
they're noisy. I think you should take the lid off because it's really squeaky and it's going to be super loud in people's ears. But it's just gas station Slurpee. It's really hot here today, like really hot. So we went to get a
We
cold
didn't
drink.
want the AC running during the time, so I was like, let's pick up something cold so that we...
Try to stay cool.
Yep.
Okay, so the first thing that we noticed is, yeah, your drawings were great. They look great, really centered. The subject, you stay focused and on target. Drawing looks good. Now, based on your notes, I agree with you that there is a struggle with the values here.
Mm-hmm.
And the main struggle, when you look at an image like this, the first thing that you notice is that it's the same values all over the image. So there's no area or subject that has its own value range. You've got the same range of values across every part of the picture. Yeah.
So I'm just putting a white layer and setting it into colors so that we can kind of quickly look at what the value range is. Another thing that we can do is if I just select, say, this right one, copy and put it on its own layer, then I can look at the value range. And we see here that everything's setting within this little range of this value to basically this value. There's a little bit of lighter gray, but it's very marginal. Now, the tricky thing with night scenes is actually overcoming our preconception that they have to be really dark. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing on the other side of like a sunny scene, everything gets washed out. This is default. This is one of those things that you just learn how to handle. I've got a folder here. I think this has some of the reference images in it. So this is some of the reference images in the PDF from the challenge. And this is a good example of what you would register as a night scene or a really dusk scene, something in that range.
It's a dark scene.
But it's not all black. Mm-hmm. We've got some silhouettes that make it feel like it's darker than it is, but really most of the scene is still in the midtones. Same thing here. This is a darker, moody scene, but it's not because all the values are darker. Again, we're using a lot more silhouetting, which makes it feel like it's darker. We're doing a little more spotlighting, being a lot more intentional about where we're putting the light. Then also just the contrast on a lot of the background is very low because we really ratcheted up how much atmosphere. Those are ways that we fake it to look darker than it is.
Without printing super dark.
Yeah, without actually having to use dark values everywhere. So coming back to here, intentional lighting is something that just takes a lot of practice. I know it took me years before I started kind of getting my head around it. But ultimately, what you want to do, and we talk about this like in the fantasy illustration class, is think in terms of basically three values: your lights, your mids, and your darks. And you want a combination of those values in big blocks. So right now we do have some light, mids, and darks. It's like, okay, this part is lighter, this is like a mid, and this is dark. Fine. But what we need is like the whole thing gets lighter to darker, and this gets like lighter to darker. For instance, it's big value changes so that entire units are lighter or darker against each other, where right now we're basically running the same value. This is what we call value pair. It's an object in front of another object or background where each of them are about the same value. So here we have some bad value pairs where the foreground and the background elements are all about the same value.
It's okay to have some lost edges in which that happens, but they have to be not everywhere, and they're, kind of chosen intentionally when you want something to not look super cut out. You put a couple of those in there, but you can't have too many of those, and it can't be the whole picture sitting in that problematic value area where all the values are the same or too close.
Now, you made some good decisions. Like the idea of putting a light behind is really a good one, because a spider is one of those things that you don't need much visual information to tell you it's a spider. The silhouette will tell you it's a spider, which is if it's got one of those silhouettes, and some things are like that, then make use of it. So I would say that's a good idea, but the problem with this is it's on an unimportant part of the image. So it keeps drawing our eye to this area, but there's really nothing there. So the most important area is the creature itself. So use cinematic lighting, which is sometimes it doesn't make sense why there's a light there, but yeah, put a light there because it looks good.
Well,
so
you have to light your subject.
You have to light your subject. So here's an example of where you could go with it. I'm not saying that this is the answer. It is an answer. So I got this here. I messed around with this one over here, so I'll pull up on that so we can take a look. First thing is just use an exposure layer. I want the little claw that's coming towards us. Claw? Feet? I don't know what they have. Anyway.
And? I don't know what that is.
I don't know what a little spider leg is called.
Leg?
So letting some light be hitting there. Next is putting some light behind it and then putting him back on top. So we can see right here, even right there, we have a much clearer silhouette where I can get this smaller and I can make out those legs a lot easier than here. Ultimately, it comes down to one choice that has two options. And this is something that we talk about and we always check on our images. Either the thing is darker over a lighter value, or it is going to be lighter over a darker value. That's the only two options. Right. And maybe you have to try both, or maybe there's a combination. That's kind of going good with a combination here is I'm putting a little light on the face just so that it's not completely flat. Here's where we really start to dial it in with putting the multiply there. So now what are we doing? We're building in a gradient where it's dark to light as it comes down, and it's also kind of light as it comes down this way. And now we have a bunch of dark against a bunch of light, but then we also have a lot of medium. So we're getting a lot more medium tones in all these transition areas. And the next thing would be adding some accent light. So this is in two ways. One is the rim light hitting the tops of these, which is nice. The other one is adding the atmospheric softening so that the legs themselves will stand out against each other. So this leg is now of a different value than that leg. And this leg is a different value than that leg. So that we have separation even in that darker area. Right? So here they're all starting to kind of run together. So that would be an approach to creating a full range of values with some large gradients, large color scheme changes. And I wouldn't stop with this. Mm-hmm. So what would you additionally do to take this to a final even from this stage?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I think I would add a little bit more lighting to the face. And because it just needs a little bit more intensity, more contrast in this area. Mm-hmm. And then you could add a secondary light. I don't know, I'd have to play around with it, but I wouldn't stop, like Clint said, I wouldn't stop here. This can be developed further. So what he's trying to say is don't just, think, okay, this is it. I just have to do this. It can be taken beyond this.
And additionally, let's develop as you go the plants. I'm getting the idea that there's a silhouette of a plant here.
Yeah, I think these were foreground plants here.
But go ahead and expand the color a little bit. Give them some actual green. And looking at like this image, this is a good example. Like we can have some of this sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. Right, this is a really good direction to go. Have some green, sort of mossy little shrubby stuff. We can put some moss on the ground and on the roots and everything. And that'll be a way to convey that this isn't a cave, it isn't a forest. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't quite read as forest right now. It kind of looks like he's in a hole of some kind. So you could develop that background to reflect more of that. But yeah, this is just a rough kind of direction. Obviously, I think you know, and I think you intended to develop the render on him, his materials. I would definitely put more attention into making this part look volumetric, like spotlighting it.
Yeah.
So another light specifically here, and then developing a little bit more your foreground and your ground area, because there's not that much in the image. Also, you might want to light these guys.
Yeah.
They're kind of disappearing, and you might want to, I don't know if there's another one here, but I would put another one on this side since you've got like 2 over here, so that it balances out.
No, I'm not against having some of the red on it. I think the red is a nice pop. So I just happen to work on the other one. But if you like the red, then I'd go ahead and add that back in. Or just go off of this one. So that's our notes on that. Hopefully that's helpful for you. I think that this requires just continuing to work on it. It's not really reworking the image. So, yeah. Best of luck on that.
Yeah, I hope that was helpful to you, Ita. It's just a way to help you separate your values out.
I'm just going to make one so that we know which ones we've looked at. Here we go. Okay, who else is here? Do I see
Shelby is here, so you can just start at the beginning.
Okay. All right, Shelby has the Rowena Ravenclaw. She's in her study. Got some floating books around her. And this is setting in a pretty good place as far as the composition, the general design of the scene. But we, again, can get some more out of the value setup. Namely because we've got a lot of contrast. Things are either very bright or they're very dark. And we're not getting enough of that mid-tone to help pop both of them out. That would be my read. So, what's your thoughts on that? And then we'll take a look at the...
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, I'm unclear. It's, and the way you were thinking about it, were you thinking of these books as like apparitions? Are they like ghost books? Or are they real books that are levitating? Because right now they're kind of sitting in this sort of weird place where I'm not sure. If you wanted them to be real books, I would probably darken them and kind of allow the glow effect to be around them so that they look like they're actually physically there.
That's a good point. Like, go ahead and just paint them like they're regular books, and then basically just put a glow around them. Otherwise, yeah, it does look like they are like a Patronus themselves. They are made of magic.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe you intended them to be like not real, so I'm not sure what you were going for.
Something to be... Well, let me show you the idea here. This is just a linear dodge layer, putting some light behind her so that we aren't putting the dark edge of a character against a dark background. It's a really easy thing to do as you're putting in your scene, but something that you generally want to avoid because we just start losing all the edges across there.
Just from a 1 or a 2-inch card read, it's gonna, that whole area is gonna mask together. You're
gonna make this out over here, and then you're going to just sort of start losing all the edges along there. So that's why we're doing this, and you can use a variety of different layers to do it, but something that's going to bring up the value, and then potentially lowering the contrast on the face. Again, the face is going to be fairly dark. There's a lot of contrast between the lit and the shadow. And make sure you have a good lighting reference for this. Like, don't guess this. Go get a lighting reference. Because here we're getting mostly lit upper body. And we're getting mostly shadowed face.
And
so the two...
These planes are kind of the same direction plane. So this plane and this plane are facing the same direction. Actually, it looks like she's maybe slightly even turning a little bit towards the light.
Mm-hmm.
So
the face would be a little more
lit, actually. Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of not consistent with itself unless there was some object here casting a shadow, which is, I don't know, kind of strange, but it could be. But yeah, just never forget your primary forms. It's really easy to forget about them when you're lighting a human being. But this, unless you have a really big twist on the body and the face, which doesn't appear to be the case, you're going to have those planes kind of falling in the same direction.
So this general approach for your lighting your colors can work. What we're talking about is just raising the ambient level of light. And this is something that several of you ran into. And there's another topic we're going to touch on that several of you ran into as well. But don't forget about having a certain level of ambient light. It doesn't have to just be the thing that's being lit by the window is really bright, and then the magic is really bright. Well, what about all the light that's bouncing around in the room? What about any torches? What about all this other stuff? And there's a lot of scenes. I didn't have that open over there. Here's some scenes. So like here, this one's from Kate Burmack, but this isn't a good example of how much ambient light. Yeah, we see that there's some windows back here, so there's light coming from those, and there's light coming from this, but still there's plenty of light so that we can see everything, because we're not going for what this is, a really moody, dark sort of scene down here. There's nothing really indicating that that's the kind of mood that we're getting from her. So I would say just raise that level up. Okay. As you go, make sure that you're really refining the drawing before you just start painting. Get good references for everything. As little guesswork as possible. Get fabric, drape it over your arms to see what the folds look like. Get hand reference photos, get book reference photos, get bookcase reference pictures or 3D models or something.
And be careful. Make sure that this doesn't get baked in as you render, as I'm already seeing kind of things veering off where the mouth is, sorry, I'm trying to draw it like an odd angle here. The mouth is like this, the nose is lined up like this, and the eyes are...
Yeah, we're getting up.
This one's tilting up. So these lines have to be, unless she was doing like a smirk or something, these lines have to be, parallel to each other to make sure that the features are lined up correctly. Just be careful because the eye's starting to go up and the mouth is starting to go down, you see?
Yeah.
So it's easy to get that baked in if you're just rendering and zooming in real close.
All right, Shelby, we wish you the best with it. And,
yes.
Hopefully that'll help dial it in.
You don't have to write Kurt Shelby anymore. We know. We know who you are. But I appreciate that.
Okay, we got Frank. Frank is here.
Hi, Frank.
Get you dark gray. There we go.
Yeah, Frank is in the chat.
Okay, Frank. We're bringing up a different topic here. With looking at yours, let me pull up something.
Now, this is a different image.
Yes.
From what I recall, last stream, Frank the sketches were for the Rowena Ravenclaw brief, as I remember. So now we're doing Godric Gryffindor, a totally different one. So yeah, what made you change your mind, Frank? What was the reason for just abandoning the other brief and starting a new one? There's a delay, so we're gonna give Frank time to hear my question and type out the answer, but we can start looking at these already.
Well, I'll go ahead and say that we'll circle back to the change of the brief, but the way that these are put together with the colors is quite clean, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with basically what you did is you put down your base colors, and then you used some blending mode layers to quickly block in some light shadow pattern variations, which is exactly the way that you should do it. You're going to get the maximum amount of results for the minimal effort, and it is going to give you better results, and it is going to be far more editable than having to just paint them all by hand. So
Yeah.
Frank says,
I'm sorry, I just wanted to comment on that. Yeah, Frank, this workflow that you did is solid. Like, this is really good for everybody watching. What Frank's doing here allows him to make a lot of lighting changes in a minimally destructive way. It doesn't require a lot of repainting to just quickly block in different lighting options and judge them against each other. So yeah, thumbs up for that. So now we're going to read your response here. So Frank says that he actually plans to do the 4 founders as a series. Okay, cool. Since there were too many Rowenas, I just chose another one. Okay, so you saw that there were a lot of Rowenas from other people and you wanted to do a different one. That's fine. So we can talk about brief switching at the end, just because several people switch their briefs, and it is something that comes up, and we'll talk about that later. But for now, let's just take a look at what's going on with your new piece.
you know who he looks like.
No, who does he look like?
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris. I don't see it, but okay.
Yeah, that's the same shape of the beard.
Is it really?
Yeah. Okay. Again, clean render, and this is one of the things that we really wanted to see from the color roughs, which is each one is giving a different lighting and color scheme. It's not just changing the color of like his robe or changing the color of his hair. It's not changing the color of the object. It's setting up an entirely different lighting scenario that produces a different color palette. And you've keyed into that, and that's good to see. Now, I'm not going to dwell on it here, but by picking a new brief, you have introduced a new batch of problems which we haven't been able to adequately address at the sketch stage. And that's mainly because we just now have this odd composition where essentially this is one scene and this is one scene, and they really don't work together as a unit, as a single image. It's basically just divided in half. Mm-hmm. And there is certain compositional ways that you do what is basically a duo scene. It's a double character scene. But this is even a niche of that, which is there's a major and minor of the duo.
Yeah, and it's a challenge too, because the minor, the supporting character, is kind of bigger than the main, which is like its own problem. So this is a challenge at this stage in the game because we only have 2 weeks left to the finals. So we're going to try to give you just minimally intrusive feedback so that you're not behind anymore. So yeah, I think we may want to find a way to center the character more is what I would do, and try to move the lion off to the side a little bit so that he's not taking up 50% of the canvas. I don't know, what were you thinking?
You got I'm going to pitch a couple of things out, Frank. And you do whichever is setting with you, because this is not a professional project. Like, you're not getting paid to do this. You're paying us to give you notes. So you decide the way that you want to take it. But here's some things. One is, I think the image would actually be stronger as an image without the lion in it and him more brought over to the right. Mm-hmm. And then you have basically the tower here, and you have him here with his cape going off, and we don't have to worry about splitting the attention with the lion. Now, obviously, that's a break from the brief, but if you're more concerned about just getting a better image, that would be it. If we want the lion in there, then we do need to establish three-dimensionally like where he is. I'm a little confused because he's in front of the robe here. I mean, he's behind the robe there, but he's in front of the sleeve there. And it just seems like, I assume that this fabric and this fabric are at about the same plane.
Might have just been overlooked.
And you fit the whole line in there.
I
So
would put him behind him.
what it gets to me is like, I don't know if this is lion scale, or like how big he is compared to the guy. Okay, the other thing is the shape of some of the cloak in particular. Design-wise, I find this a little odd that like his cloak goes down into a V into his belt. It's like it's made out of his shirt. I'm not saying that you couldn't do it. I think you could do it, but I feel like you just invented a new piece of clothing that doesn't.
Well, it might be a separate piece. It's just unclear kind of how it's attached.
Yeah. So I find that a little odd. Because this is so straight, I register it as like a solid object.
Yeah, it almost, one of the issues with it is that it's like very similar to the sword. So it almost registers as like a solid, also solid long thing like that, because they're kind of there parallel to each other, the same thickness, the same shape.
Yeah.
And that's kind of weird overall. It's kind of creating this line. And it's funny because, it's not funny, I don't mean it like haha, but I mean it's an odd thing that happens when we're working on a scene. That's just happened to me too, where I had like this super weird tangent and I was working on the piece for like 30 hours and I didn't notice it until I was almost finishing the piece, and I was like, oh, now I gotta move that somehow or change that because it's really obvious to me now. And that's what's kind of going on here. So I would rethink this design kind of thing.
I'll tell you, Frank, I think there's probably a better solution to having a wizard's robe and a big cloak. I think this is a clunky solution that doesn't feel real wizardy.
Yeah, I think you could just probably make this something like attached here and attached here, and we just remove this edge. It just kind of blows off.
Yeah, you can have it in some kind of S pattern.
And it's attached to, an actual wizard's robe here or something. So the top is, the shirt is the shirt and the cape is the cape. I would consider, referencing some of that and coming up with a more elegant solution up top. Remember, this is a focal point. It's really important that this all looks really nice and resolved and logical, so that people don't question it.
Okay, a few other things to keep in mind. We've got a hidden edge where this cloak, the backside of this cloak, ends right behind this sleeve. So it goes down here, but it doesn't come out the other side. And it's just odd because it ends. All of this ends right inside of the thing in front of it.
And that can happen.
It can happen.
But when we're putting things that get kind of interrupted from our view, it's always good to see the continuity somewhere so that it doesn't look like they just kind of vanish.
Yeah.
So I do this a lot too, where I just find a way to show the continuity.
I wouldn't even bother with that being visible. We can just let it go back, and then we can just let some of this be visible back there. We don't have to see that. Then that way we know where the edge of the fabric is when it goes. In the same sort of way, we've got all of this stonework is ending right inside all of them. Where here we've got a nice edge to it. And it'd be nice maybe if we can arrange it in such a way that we could see just over the top of some of these. I'm not sure what your block pattern is here. But somehow if we can see a little bit of the tops so that we know where it's ending, then we're just not having these odd like hidden edges behind things. Looking at the Patronus, obviously this is just a quick block in, but I'm going to encourage you...
We know you're going to develop it more, obviously.
Yeah, is start it a bit lower in value, and then the edges can be brighter, and then a lot of the stuff on the inside, it gets way more see-through on the inside of everything.
In the inside of the major forms, you're still going to need the outside of the lion's head and such.
Yeah, so... Oh, it is not switching the tool. Okay, here we go.
Here's my tip for Patronus for everybody, or for like a ghost, or like, you know, an animal, ghostly animal familiar, or that sort of thing, is what I would do, honestly. I think it's a lot more versatile, is painting it just in black and white with transparency, just grayscale, and then adding a gradient map, and that way you can really play with the colors and have it map on and not colorize it, or have to pick like the exact perfect color as you're working out the lights and darks of the Patronus. I would really just paint it, that part in grayscale and do gradient map on it.
Do a gradient map and just set the whole layer to like screen or linear dodge so that it can only brighten the layers under it. But
you can do it with normal as well, and then go on top with a blending mode if you want to pull out some glow.
But I would encourage you to do that fairly soon, because it's going to really rebalance the value and the amount of attention that side of the image is getting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And the other thing is, I would play down how much light. We want to let some light be affecting him, but right now it's almost equal to the bright side. So I'm tone that down a little bit. As far as each of these, I prefer the top two.
Same.
This one can work. Definitely it could work. It's just not as captivating for something that's probably a little more colorful.
Doesn't feel as magical.
On this one, I would recommend bringing the value of sky up a little bit, just so we get a little more mid-tone. We already talked about that. Okay. Yeah. Well, Frank, that was a couple of notes. Hopefully that's helpful. Do whatever you want to do for the piece. Obviously, you have a limited amount of time to do a fair amount of work.
You just got to go to Render Town now.
Yeah. Okay. Is Abraham here?
Abraham, are you here? I don't know. I didn't see. Oh, he is here. Okay.
Hey, Abraham. Okay, Abraham is doing the Dragon Pursuit. Young is supposed to say which. Missed a C.
We spelled it wrong.
A wizard on a flying broomstick racing through the sky, breaking speed.
Can you tell we were in a hurry?
Desperately trying to escape pursuing dragon. Okay. We got 3 pretty solid color variations. We're playing to different color schemes on each of these. I think you could have pushed more variation, and I'm going to be a little harder on Abraham. So if you hear us being a little picky, that's because we know Abraham. We work with Abraham, and we know at what level he is, and we also know what level he's aiming for. And so we are going to push him a little bit because he's trying to get to a really high level. So for this, in my book, these almost all set as the same option. They all fit that same basic, really desaturated kind of gray with a pop of orange, which is kind of encapsulates each of these. And what would have been better is that another option would have been a lot more colorful. Like, let's play up the colorful wizarding world, exciting kind of pursuit, rather than everything's just deadly and gray and dark. Or could we change, could it be a sunset?
Well, yeah, it's okay to have one dark gray option or snowing or something, but then it would have been nice to see other options since the brief wasn't clear on the time of day.
No, that's point number one. Point number two is, this isn't the image that we looked at last time.
Abraham, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. Your sketch was just, I think, this is in my opinion, you obviously disagreed because you changed it, but I feel like your sketch was a superior composition to this new one. I felt like it had more of, it was more dynamic and more intense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was really working, which is why we picked it. So this is a totally different thing. What made you change the dragon's pose? What was... You knew what I was thinking. I know that you knew because you're a smart guy. Why did you do this? I mean, obviously you must have thought, or there was something that wasn't working for you. I don't know what happened between then and now.
So, okay. Let's break it down for everybody else in the room of kind of why we're saying that. And we're not just saying that because, hey, this is our preference. And I do want to note one thing, which is the character is certainly an improvement. I like this guy. Mm-hmm. He's better. He's well drawn.
He looks sweet.
Yeah. This is totally an improvement. All the time you put into that, well worth it. My main concern is just about the dragon and kind of what we gained versus what we lost with the dragon. So I tried the new pose to break the silhouette better since the last one was blending in too much. The head of the dragon. Well, like I said, I mean, all we needed to do was move
the head.
Just move the jaws so that it could break the silhouette, and we just get a little neck pulling around right there on the back. And that's it. That's really only change. And we're saying that we like that better because the dragon feels a lot closer. He feels like he's about ready to get the kid.
Feels close to the kid.
Yeah, it's almost claustrophobically tight, right, in the action. And we're filling a lot of the frame with just the two main people. Over here, we're getting a lot more just room. It just feels like it's not as much imminent danger. And now...
It feels like he's kind of gotten away from him over here. Yeah, but here, you're not so sure. That's the difference.
I'm gonna be picky, and because we talked about this last time, which is when you change the scale of things in the image and the balance in the image, the context of the image can change. At this point, if we take him out, this is clearly just about the dragon, right? It is. I feel like the character is almost an add-on to the image of the dragon. Because, why? Because we are clearly giving a full-length body shot that's clearly posed so that we clearly see all of the dragon. This is a dragon portrait featuring for scale a human character.
It does start to change the context a little bit. Yeah.
But when you really foreshorten things, this isn't about the dragon. Because if you're going to show off the dragon, you don't overlap so much of the dragon's body.
It's more about the interaction in this way, right? So that's what we lost with the change of pulling the dragon's head back and getting a full body shot. is we lost the interaction
Mhm.
between the character and the dragon that was more featured, more prominent in the original sketch, right? So I hope that makes sense and that you can understand why we're saying this and what was lost when the change was made.
Okay, so now we're in a position where the choice is up to you, Abraham. You want to go with what you got? I totally get that. You got a lot of time into it. It's already closer to being finished than the other one. If you want to go with this one, I think you would ultimately...
Just take the kid.
Yeah, get this kid, move him over there, give a color pass to this. I think ultimately you would have a stronger image, although you would have to take a couple of steps back and then catch up again. I was guessing what the scenario was here because I don't know.
Originally, I thought it was just the sky.
Yeah.
I don't know what you interpreted as.
I would go with like this is a tower and we're looking down.
Oh yeah, sorry, I drew it the wrong way.
The tower, and then this is part of a wall, and we've got that, and then back here we've got other towers that are coming up.
You could go converge it down to a
and everything's doing this so that we get this
height. Yeah,
this sense of height of whoa, we're way up here, and we've got this dynamic angle, and here we don't. Here it's we've just seen a flat side view, camera's completely locked, no crazy angle, and it dilutes the sense of the action and the free flying through space sort of thing. I actually do agree with you guys, and I think the change in the dragon was the bad call. I will get closer to the past thumbnail. I don't think it'll be worth change. I mean, I think it'll be worth it because...
And there was just so much that was working here. And I feel like in your original sketches, the other two as well, you were really like keying on to that interaction. You were really locked into it, and then somewhere along the way it kind of slipped away.
The other thing that I'm going to encourage you to consider is I don't know that you need the fire. I feel like the fire may be stumbling you a little bit.
It may be introducing more variables than it needs to.
Yeah, it's starting to overcomplicate what we need. It's enough that he's about to be ate.
He's going to be eaten. Yeah. That's the word.
And in order for that to work, now we have to make so much of it dark. But let me give you some references that I found. These are things that I'd be looking at if I was taking, your sketch to colors. Would you go around and just flip that on to get the fan going a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I went out to Pinterest, so I just grabbed some things. I don't know what color you really want the dragon. I think it would be nice if we could add some color to it. I have read the books. They talk about a number of different dragons. Some of them are like red, I would guess. I know one of them's green. Some of them are gray or black, whatever. It'd be a nice way to infuse some color into something that really doesn't have much color right now. It's really brown. And that was a good example of how to do it. Another thing is, if you're going to be lighting a dragon's mouth, generally you want to do it like this. Where
you put the light source inside.
Yeah. Instead of trying to do...
Gia did that too.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty good.
So here again, we're massing the values together. It's fairly flat lighting on this side. And then you just have the cool rim light. Here we're getting a lot of like too much of the firelight causing a lot of little pockets of glare and stuff. Okay. This one, lovely. Like this would have been the direction of another good color pitch of playing up a really colorful direction option with it.
It's just a day sky, basically.
Yeah. And if you're doing this direction, again, maybe don't need fire. Like if you're already getting so much from the rest of it. That one, thought it was cool. Again, you're basically just treating it like he has a
light bulb.
big light inside of his mouth.
Yeah, you could always also keep the fire on a separate layer and just make sure the image works without it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the option to turn it off or on. That's what I would do.
So there's some food for thought. Mm-hmm. Again, you're a really skilled artist. We know that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this kid looks great.
Yeah, I'm really digging that guy. The forms look good. The movement of the fabric feels good. You got him looking over his shoulder. That works. So, yeah, it's up to you what you want to do with it. You're doing the horntail. That's why it looks like that. Yeah. Still, is there a way that we can get some other color? Can we introduce some color from the environment that's going to infuse a little extra on there?
But if not, I mean, it might be worth bringing color into the background.
Yeah.
To try and offset that. But, yeah. Give it a think. I know that you can handle this. You can solve this.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably thinking, I don't want these people art directing anymore with the damn. I'm done. I'm done with
Always
this.
pushing my buttons.
Sorry.
So, okay, man. That's what we got. It's in the ball's in your court. So, we have Bjorn. Is Bjorn here? Have we seen?
I know it's usually pretty late for him, so he normally doesn't come.
Perhaps we'll circle back to Bjorn then. Unless
Yeah.
you want to do it now?
No, Bjorn, if you're here, let us know and we'll circle back to you. But if not, we'll move on to Kurt. I think Kurt is here, and who else is here? There's a few people that are actually here right now. So, yeah, I don't think Bjorn is here. So let's go to Kurt. And then we'll circle back to Bjorn.
Kurt, guy's looking good. This is another variation of Godric Gryffindor with the Sword of Gryffindor. We got Hogwarts behind him.
I see your signature rendering style. I recognized it.
So it's setting a really good place. You're showing a lot of understanding of how to set up an overall value scheme, lighting setup. And why is that? Why are we able to say that? Well, a couple of things. He's being very intentional with this light on the character, giving a spotlight here and letting it get shadowed as it goes down. You don't accidentally arrive at that option because the default is everything gets the same light.
Yeah. And
this creates a bit of drama, and it helps put focus on one area, which is
drama.
nice.
It's good.
Yeah.
Shelby's Kurt. Yes, for anyone wondering which Kurt this is.
Yeah.
Correct.
And overall, the whole thing is working. Are we going to dial it in? Absolutely. There's always some optimizations to make. I see that you did go with the idea of having the statues on the back side of the wall.
That's nice. There's actually kind of put something back there to look at, right?
Yeah. So, the first thing that hits me is it is a bit unnecessarily dim. Just value range, again, it's setting fairly low.
It's a bit dark.
Yeah, it's a bit dark. Now, guys, nothing wrong with being a bit dark. Fair bits of your image can be, but particularly if you're training to do TCG art, which is trading card games that are going to be printed on actual paper.
Or even like TTRPGs.
Yeah.
Anything that's for print.
Yeah. Then get in the habit of stepping it up a value or two, because things always print a little duller and a little darker than you anticipate. So in that case, I would say we can brighten it up, and then we can just optimize the light on some of the rest of this. So I think you can bring it up to somewhere around there without really compromising the tone of the image. You still kind of get the same vibe. The next thing is we're getting a clear shadow pattern over here. Light side, shadow side, cast shadow. And really, with some levels, we could bring some attention to the side of that. Just because there is some good work back there, and it would be nice if we could have a little payoff, just one little spot that we could look at. And the work is already done. It's not like we're necessarily having to create new content. Now, the next thing is the Patronus. We already touched on this with the other one, which is you don't necessarily want the whole thing to be equally bright.
And opaque.
And opaque, yeah. Let me go open.
Let's bring up some of those. What were they League images or there's a few?
Now this is from League of Legends.
Oh, those are Rudy's. Yeah, look at Rudy's pieces.
So this is a good example of how to approach essentially the same thing. Now you don't necessarily have to do it exactly the way they did in the movie. I think anybody would assume it to be a Patronus.
I think the movie was a little overexposed. It was like really, they just blow it out. Yeah. And if you do that for a painting, it's gonna look a bit flat and just kind of white. And so if you want to bring more color into it, this could be a potential way to get that.
So you see here, it gets the brightest on the tips and along the edges. The edges create a sort of magical, fiery sort of effect. Then the things where you see in the middle is where it can be largely just transparent. You just see right through it. This is also an example of what Diana mentioned earlier, which is using a gradient map in order to create the color variations. It's a real pain to have to switch colors every time you're changing value.
Yeah, and it might be hard for you to like handpick all these tones just right. It's better to go to grayscale for it. Just paint it only with white and gray, and build in your transparency, and then just apply a gradient map to that layer. To the Patronus, and then you can apply different colors to the light values and the midtones, and you can adjust it with sliders and see how it looks, right? So that's what I would do, and it just prevents you from having to pick like the exact tone and worry about saturation and hue and value all at the same time while painting this kind of unusual thing. You can just do it in grayscale, focus on getting the effect, and then apply the gradient map.
I just did a really quick rough in to give the idea that you can have some areas a little more see-through, or maybe not even all the edges get to the same brightness. Maybe some of them are a little more gold to the orange side. Some of them get up to the yellow-white edge. That's up to you.
There are different methods of doing this too. Like I know the League of Legends people have like another method they use. I forget now if it's with screen or what. But basically they're also just painting with black and white, and it's kind of applying a blending mode to it in real time. So I know there's like a bunch of ways to do this, but the one that I would feel most comfortable with and I feel is the most versatile and controllable would be painting it in white and black, like grayscale, and then applying the gradient map.
The last thing, if you have the time, I would recommend doing another pass to plus the building design a little bit. They are registering as a little simplistic, a little made up. And
they're still a little basic. And the reason we say this is because the image is big, right? And your focal point is here, and that's nice, but there's like a lot of the image that's taken up by this, so it's hard not to look at it and just see how simple everything is. Your eye is kind of expecting a little bit more.
So go look at...
Doesn't need to be too crazy, but just another passive detail.
The Hogwarts Castle, go look at Gothic cathedrals. It doesn't have to look like the one from the movie, but it needs to look like it has some extra resolution architecture.
Just subdivide one more level.
So here it's just a basic cone on top of a basic cylinder, but you're likely going to have several rows of stepping out stones, and you're probably going to have like major stones that sort of curve out at the top. Then maybe this part is sort of arched until it comes down to this area. Then maybe you have windows sitting inside of the arches. And this whole thing I would give like more of a curve to, and maybe, you know, pull that out a little bit. And maybe there's even like a stone cap on the top of it. Maybe there's a little, you know, little window that comes off of it. We need that extra.
One more level of development. Yeah.
And so these, like, look at cathedrals. Like, a lot of times this wall will go past the roof there. The roof doesn't overhang the way it does on a house. Then this comes up higher than that, and this probably has like a higher thing. Maybe you have like a winged boar, right? Because it's Hogwarts. And then we have, maybe you could do like little Gothic pieces that stick up and give you that kind of iconic.
Give you a more interesting silhouette back there, so it doesn't look so basic.
So that's the sort of thing that would be well worth your time.
Give it more life.
Yeah, and makes it feel a higher quality image.
I would also suggest, if you want, I'm not telling you what to do, but he's a little symmetrical right now, and maybe you had intended to get in here and give him something more. But if you hadn't, I would think about it and, like, you know, putting something here. Maybe that would be interesting, or maybe another belt, something asymmetrical.
About this.
Yeah, if it's a wizard robe, I mean, that's fine.
It's just that they're parallel, but that's all that.
Well, yeah, you might want to just have one coming down, like ending over here, perhaps, or just changing the shapes of them a little so they're not.
Always the scene is that the edge of the robe on each side.
It creates perfect parallel.
It stays like exactly the same all the way down, which again maybe could happen, but it feels too posed.
Feels a little unnatural that would occur.
Yeah, if one of them could be pulling off in a different direction, twisting towards the end in a different way. We need to keep up. We're already at an hour. So
yeah, sorry about dwelling on this so long. But yeah, a little bit more development back there, Kurt, would go a long way. That, getting your Patronus to look really nice. Another like, small detail, asymmetry pass on your character, and it's looking really good.
Yeah, all of this is looking nice. So you're in a really good place with all that. Oh. Okay.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know who else is here.
Nicole is here.
Nicole is here, yeah. Let's go to Nicole.
Okay, Nicole. We got Salazar. This is only Salazar, I think, that we have today. So we got Slytherin. He is summoning his serpent Patronus. He's in the dark arts classroom. Sure. And I think the gist of this image is working, but I do recommend getting some more out of it at this stage before you start painting. Just because of the payoff that you can get is going to be a lot higher for what you can do now versus what details and resolutions will get you later.
Agreed.
Now between these, I'm leaning towards this one that is inside of the group that's hidden, which is why it won't show up. There we go. I'm leaning to this one because this one is just kind of hitting one note. It's all mid-tone, dull green. This one, I think we're losing so much of the ambient color, I mean the local color, that, again, not as compelling as this one. We get a little more rounded palette with that. So we're looking at this one as the major option. Before you start painting, we want to look at a couple of things. One is I'd refine the drawing, really dial in the face. I'm not sure what this hand pose is, what what's going on there.
Yeah, it looks like a holding chopsticks pose right
Yeah,
now. So it's unclear.
Deal with that. We want to get a better idea what the design of the serpent is. We need to figure out what all this stuff is. So we just need to refine the drawing. The part of the drawing would be, let's center him more. And I'll have an example of this, but I think we have to center him more and then probably put another bookcase on the opposite side. Just because he's getting pretty far off to the side there. Now, as far as lighting and colors, you've gone for a very simple approach of he's distinctly darker, the window's distinctly lighter, the room is pretty dark. That's all good, except for let's take it another step and start introducing some midtones, because that's really what we're kind of missing here. And this issue of putting windows behind people, that's something that every fantasy artist runs into.
It's good.
The idea is fine, but the issue is we think the light is coming from the window, therefore the window must be very bright. Mm-hmm. And then what you end up with is basically a big blob of white that's just overexposed.
It's very close to white here. You can see the edge of the paper.
And it imparts no color, and it sort of just overpowers everything else. So remember, you only paint the light source being really bright, but everything else you show the light hitting the object, not where it's coming from. So the window itself doesn't need to be bright. Only the thing that it's lighting needs to be bright. So let's look at how you do that. First is you start by just darkening the window. Give it some color. There's probably a gray sky out there in order to fit in the mood. Right? Mm-hmm. So we do that. And then the actual stone, I forgot what they're called. There is a term for the stone that goes in the window like that. Those need to be dark. So they're still completely opaque.
The separations, the sections of the window.
That would probably
the frame
come down here. Think about that.
Pane frame. I don't know. The edges.
So that would be darker than the window panes. But we can let it get lighter, as you can see that getting lighter as it's coming down here from here. So it's not staying the same value because we do want value separation as it goes behind him. So we're allowing for that. Next then, we can add some of that lighting. Now, where the light is actually hitting, we're letting it go brighter.
I mean, you can see it immediately. You get so much more of like a realistic perception from it than just blowing out the whole thing with light.
Mm-hmm. So now we have some color, we have some midtones, there's a little nuance to the way that the light and the values are working. The next thing is potentially bringing in a secondary light. Oh, no, this one is atmosphere. So letting a little atmosphere go here, then letting some shadow value really just darken that stuff down.
Case.
Yeah.
Shelves.
And here, the idea of a secondary light will expand the color palette. Give you a way to give some form lighting to the character.
The guy's pretty dark. The whole costume is dark. All this stuff is dark. I mean, it's not like you couldn't do it by just spotlighting him, which is kind of what you have, just one light coming down on his face right now, but then nothing else is really going to be lit. So this is a potential solution. It may not be the right solution for you, but it's something that we would consider.
Now, I chose purple just because it's complementary to the green. Mm-hmm. So it's just an opposition color. And then lastly, it would be looking at moving him over so that he is more centered. We're getting an overlap of the snake head over that, right? So
and you can kind of see, like, if you zoom out, you're getting more of like that classic MTG feel to the image than where it was previously, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And this is ideally what you're trying to get to. These are the issues you're needing to resolve at this stage. Before you start doing any of the painting, the rendering, materials, stuff, you're trying to get all of these issues addressed.
It's a lot easier to take it to a finish from here than from here. Like, this would be very hard to work out. This is like straight through. You just got to reference the components and you're good.
Okay. That's the suggestion. Again, there's multiple ways to do this. You could put the accent light on the other side. You could go without the accent light. You might, in that case, want to add more spotlighting to the upper body, the chest, the head area. But that is an idea. You're welcome to go that direction or something similar.
Yep, that's our notes. Okay. Is Irina here? I think Irina might be here. Yeah, Irina's here. So let's look at Helga Hufflepuff.
Okay, this is the only Hufflepuff that we have.
Irina told us that she likes Hufflepuff.
Okay.
I said, I think in the last one, that nobody liked them, but I have since seen a few people that claim to, be of this house. So I'm guessing that it's more popular than I initially thought.
Okay. Rena, these are good as far as what you might consider flats. You're establishing what color the elements in the scene are, but that's one half of the equation that we need to answer at this stage. The other one being, what's the lighting and values?
By the way, the changes on your drawing on the character look awesome. Good job.
Yes. Yeah, the character looks good. She feels like she's kindly, but also she's also very affluent, like she's of some status.
And wizardy.
Yeah. So we don't have any lighting set up, value scheme, right? Things are just, they have a color, but that's it.
And also, I want to mention this to everybody because this is like a recurring issue with all the pieces, or almost all of them, is that if you turn off the lines, does the image look lit?
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like if we switched off the line art on most of the images, it would be kind of messy on some of them. Other ones would look like they're not lit at all. So this one, I don't know if you forgot to turn on a layer or something, but the lighting indications, I can only really see it on the face, and it's really
it's
subtle.
5%. It's really faint.
It doesn't look like a proper shadow.
So let me show. Let me pull this up here real quick and find something. Always have NDA stuff that
I can't be showing that.
afraid of.
Don't do it.
Showing. It's in. Hang on, just a second. It's in a different folder, right? I thought I had that open. It is. It's over here. Okay. So here. This is an example of color roughs for an MTG piece.
That's out already.
Yeah, it's already out.
It's been out for ages.
Yeah, this is it. It was Ivor in the crossover with Assassin's Creed. Okay, but these are the color roughs. And I might make a workshop in the future just going over this one process and approach. But
if you guys are interested in a workshop about thumbnails, color roughs, let us know.
It boils down to this. It is not about changing the color of the objects and giving multiple options for the object color. It's not... all of the costume is staying the same color in each variation. What I'm changing is the lighting setup, which causes entirely different value schemes as well as color palettes, because this one is like a sunrise. It's got soft sort of pink lighting. This one's really like dark storm clouds with just pockets of light coming down through the clouds. Obviously, this one's towards night. You have the Aurora Borealis with this really interesting sort of cerulean light that's bathing everything. I'm not changing the color of the terrain and the objects. Light. Yeah, I'm changing. Oh yeah, then we have some off-camera
can see it
fire, which is what they ended up liking. So we painted that one. Yeah, we do love this one. Yeah.
That was, I think, that was the first card, maybe the only card that we painted together. Yeah.
But this is why we really suggest start with putting down your base colors, then you can do modifications with like hard light to add light. You can do multiply layers. You can shift it around a lot and give a lot of variations pretty quickly. This is my source images. Like, I wasn't just making this up.
That would be very hard.
No, I had reference images where I was pulling off ideas of lighting, the value connection, the color connection, the color palette, and applying those ideas to the scene. So yeah, I would not recommend just trying to make that up. So here again, it's like you put the base colors down, but now we need to set up where's the light coming from and what is the value scheme, because if I do this, basically they're all the same. So from a value standpoint, these are the same image. We don't have a different value setup for this.
I think maybe you were timid. So in the comment, it seems like you were trying to indicate the shadows, but this is very gentle here. There's not enough to really turn any of the forms. And on the back, there's no difference in values from like the underside planes to the side planes to, top planes of anything. So I think it was really, really gentle.
Yeah, you've got to go a lot stronger with it. Even if you want a bright scene, again, we have to get to a value scheme something like this, where there's some darker areas, medium areas, brighter areas as a whole. Like all of this background is darker. She on average is brighter. And we've got simplified colors of like reds against golds and whites. So what is it for this one? When we're looking at it, is she going to be darker than the background? The background's really well lit. There's a lot of light coming in from somewhere. Or is the background going to be more shadowed and she stays brighter? And then, all this stuff is kind of shadowed back here and you just have a little accent light somewhere. You can approach it in you can approach it in mainly two different ways when you're setting up the lighting. Assume that you already got your references, which you should have some references for idea how you're going to approach this. Either you are starting with it bright, and we're going in and we're doing, say, a multiply layer where you're going, okay, well, I want to add a shadow under that, definitely. I want a shadow under this. I want a shadow under this. And then you can just say, okay, well, anything that's down facing basically is going to get a shadow. Anything on the right side of the object, I'm going to have a right side shadow and everything. You can do it that way, or you can do it the other way, which is, well, I know basically I want the background shadowed. And then you go in the reverse, you're doing in, okay, now I'm going to just pick out where I want light. And that's another way to do it. And maybe I know, okay, well, in that case, I know I want some light back there because I want that to pop out. I want some light behind her right there because I want the dark side of her against a lighter background. But I want a darker shadow behind here because that's the lit side of her. And then this is the shadow side. So again, I want to add, well, there's a torch back there. So I know that I'll go ahead and brighten that up and make that torch colored so that edge pops out. And then I want some focal light on him. So I'm going to take it out there. And we're just going around. We're establishing where the light's going to be. And sometimes it's easier to do that from starting the point of essentially we're turning off all the lights and we're turning them on wherever we need them instead of trying to add the shadows where it makes sense.
For the vibe and the mood of this image, though, I would go towards like a warmer background.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a daylight scene. I feel like you need a lot of warmth in there. And, you know, on her, you can have her have the brightest brights and the darkest darks and let the background kind of sit in the middle, but towards the warmer side. I don't know if we have anything like that.
I can see if we had anything in TG that was even...
Usually it's more towards a darker vibe on magic cards, but for this scene, this is a more happy scene. I'm sure there's something in the new Strixhaven set.
Yeah, I did not save off a folder of images of
That just
Strixhaven.
came out. We haven't really had a chance to go through those yet. I feel like it would be along the lines of Elephant Guy. Go down a little bit. That one.
Yeah.
More like this.
So this is a good example of a very well-lit scene that still has good form rendering, clear light and shadow, but you're not having a high amount of contrast between the lit and the shadow areas.
Yeah, so when I said lightest lights and like 1s and 3s basically and 2s in the background, it's kind of like this. If you want to just look at this character, it's kind of similar to your character and how lit she gets. The shadows are not super dark here. We're just putting the darker colors where they need to be in non-contact shadows. And then the light, the background is kind of sitting in this nice mid-tone and you can get like warmth back there as well. You can even get maybe some blue skylight coming in from a window, you know, hitting her on the shadow
that's
side.
really a good direction to go with yours. That would totally work.
Yeah.
Have one side that's a nice, bright window light that's basically overexposing, but only a little bit, only the side plane, not the main part of the face, and then having the cool light from the other side.
Or the other way where you can have just the warm main light on the side of the face and then a cool edge light from a window on the shadow plane side. So there's a couple of ways you can do it, but something along those lines with those colors I think would look nice.
Find some references of a well-lit, I think this would be well-lit, colorful sort of interior.
Yeah, you don't want to do like this. Yeah. That's not the kind of scene this is. It's going to look really out of place if you do something excessively dark or moody or kind of unnatural. From what you're doing, this is very natural and bright and colorful. So that's what I would do. So
that's where you need to spend your time. Again, that's going to give you the biggest payoff before you start painting. The edits you made are excellent. It's a really fun scene. So just try to get as much as you can out of it, and don't feel like you have to go really dynamic with the lighting. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. It doesn't have to be real dramatic with lots of dark shadows or anything. That's not the kind of image this is. So, look at Kate Burmag. Look at Elder Burmag, Dimitri. They have a tendency to use a lot of bright colors in theirs. Look at her Pathfinder pieces.
They're pretty colorful. It's a good idea. Yeah, that was helpful. And, okay, so I think
We've got Erica.
Erica's here. Yeah. So let's look at Erica, and then we'll start working through the people that are not here. I don't know if Miyuki is here. Miyuki, let us know. Or Zach, or any of the other participants.
Okay, Erica, you obviously put in a lot of time over the last 2 weeks to go from this to this. We applaud the amount of effort that it took to do that.
Yeah, you clearly put in the time and the work.
Yeah. So we spoke of some perspective issues here of really confusing what was going on, kind of where we were seeing it. Those have been addressed, much more consistent now. So now going from this point, let's touch on a couple of things. One is just the overall scene, layout, drawing, and then we've got to talk about like the values and the colors. So very cleanly drawn, which is good. I think it is probably wider of a scene than you need for essentially a portrait. So again, the character is getting pretty small for a scene about the character. This is more about just the scene of the classroom and her. I don't think you need to see the front of the desk. You could probably just start with the desk being the bottom of the scene, and we can have enough context like that. We haven't lost any of the context of the scene by pulling into it. In fact, what we've done is we've clarified what the scene is about, which is the character.
Yeah, it's not about the mayhem in the room, it's about the character. Yeah, I feel like, I know you put effort and work into the rest of the image, the sides, but I actually feel like it would benefit from cropping in like this.
Okay. That would be issue number 1. Number 2, let's look at composition of, we've got, this is just a tangent of, we've got both the bird and her head ending right at the level of, I'm going to say a door. I'm not sure what that is behind her.
Panel of some kind. It's unclear right now what it is.
Whatever this wardrobe, I don't know.
It might be a wardrobe.
It's right along her height there. So it needs to be clearly one thing or the other. I'm kind of towards this side of just make this stuff taller, because otherwise then you're going to like lower it and it's going to be like at the level of the hands.
That's really small.
Yeah, and it feels short, especially compared to like the chair. So looking at that. Now, I'll make an observation here. You don't have to change this. Which is, we're talking about a character that is like from 1,000 years ago, right? 1,000 years ago was when Hogwarts was founded by the 4 founders. This is part of official history. I'm not making that up. You can look it up in your history books.
In the Encyclopedia Britannica.
And I say that because I feel like her costume here reads more of the right period than this does.
Feels more medieval.
Yeah.
I think you had it in the previous iteration, like the right vibe. And there's almost something a little bit kind of, I don't know how to say, childlike about this new costume. I don't know how to describe it. I think it's just a very high waist. And then the small sleeves. I think it would benefit from making it look more medieval, like taking it back to that time period. And it's not huge changes that you would have to make. And again, like you don't have to make the changes at all. It's just something that we would do, which is, bringing these sleeves back.
Yeah, I don't know what that cut is called.
You could have a smaller sleeve inside, right? So that there's something there when it falls like this. And you could have, a smaller one. And I feel like that would feel more medieval, more accurate to the time period, and more wizardy too. This just feels kind of like a normal sweater jacket.
She's, again, I would say, key into the brief, the words austere, regal, does she look regal? Is this a regal costume? Is this an austere costume? She's a very sort of elegant character. And what can we do to accent that part of her character?
Yeah, so something like that. And then this might be accurate. I'm not 100% sure on the scale of the tiara or what's it, diadem.
Diadem, yeah.
But when I hear the words tiara and diadem, they're smaller from a crown. And this feels very large. It's almost kind of creating like this hat kind of effect. I would maybe scale this down to kind of be like this on the hair. Maybe bring it down a little bit.
And get it on the forehead. Right now it's like running on top of the head.
And let the hair be kind of visible, kind of like what you had here. A little closer to that, so that, you know, it looks a little bit smaller and you see more of the hair. So yeah, it's nothing that is technically wrong with what you do. These are just design choices that might help to push a little bit more information about the context, the narrative, like when this is, where this is, the style depicting the time period, and just some proportion adjustments to make the character look overall more mature. Because right now she does look a bit young. She looks about 14. I don't know what age she's supposed to be in the books at this point, but the oversized crown and like the small jacket is kind of giving this, I think, excessively youthful look. So anyway, that's an option for you if you want to go that way.
Okay, the next thing is we're talking about the colors and the values. So I'd say stay at this level or stay at this stage of color roughs until you answer the questions of particularly the value scheme and the lighting setup. This really doesn't have a lighting setup. Everything is just flat colors. This is basically just lines and flats.
Very similar to actually what was going on with the Helga Hufflepuff piece, where I can see kind of this little line here, right? Can you see that?
Yeah.
A little bit. And kind of the same thing here. But the difference between here, it's so light, so subtle, that if we turned off the lines, I don't think we would get any sense of the lighting or the form at all.
So that's what you need to establish. The basic rule of thumb is make the backgrounds mid-tones, and then use your brighter brights and your darker darks on your main subject that's more in the foreground. That is a default option that works like every time, but it does mean that you have to introduce basically artificial atmosphere in the room to brighten things up.
And separate things.
Yeah, to separate them. Or you need to imagine that there's a big window open somewhere that's casting some light on the background back here behind her. Now, if you do that, what you kind of need to do, we need some light back there. Then we run into the problem of now the background is basically the same value as her skin and sleeves. Okay, now we got an issue because you've kind of locked yourself into, if this is light, then this has to be dark. But if this is dark, it's not going to print very well and the whole thing is going to be dark. Now, you've got three options here. This one also doesn't really work because it's dark on dark. Unless we can brighten the background up, in which case it can work because the background's actually being pulled up in value. So it's who's going to be light, who's going to be dark. And that's the only option. One has to be one and one has to be the other. I've messed with it, and again, it is an option. So I did not do the crop in on this.
Turn that one off.
Yeah.
It's locked in, so you have to remove it. You have to remove it. Yeah.
Well, it's got dragged. Okay. So pulling the cases up so that we don't have the alignment on the head. Just scaling the chair back down because he was part of it. Adding some kind of atmosphere in the background so that we can get a value change and push it into the mid-tones. Putting her back on top. Putting the foreground back there. And then potentially getting the darker colors so that she can pop out as being darker against the brighter background, and the idea of the influence of the prior medieval costume. I would still crop into all of this the way that we did on that one. I think would do better. That's where I would go with it. I think you're going to get more out of the scene with that sort of approach. And again, this is 40% of the process. Mm-hmm. You would need to take this further. You would need to think, how does this affect the objects on the table? How does this affect the floating books? Am I going to indicate that there's any lanterns anywhere? Is there any magic glow from anything?
It might be nice to see some parchments as well as books, since this is supposed to be in the past. Mm-hmm. And making those books, like making them really big, with maybe some big bindings on them. There's so many more ways that you can push the storytelling. Yep. Opening some of them up. Right now they're all closed. So yeah, we only have like this one open, but we could have a few, not all of them, but a couple of them that are open. Some pages maybe falling out.
Another thing, be cautious of the scale of some of this. Mm-hmm. In particular over here is that we've got a variety of books here that this is closer than she is, and it is the size of her palm. So if I put it back where she is, it would be even smaller. The books are getting about that big.
Yeah, and also they're on the same plane as these ones. So are they meant to be mini books? I mean, you could have done it on purpose. The problem that I always just say to people is, like, sometimes when you make choices like that, the audience, they're not going to know it's on purpose. Mm-hmm. They're just going to think it's a mistake, right? So we want to try to remove ambiguity that isn't like, obviously that's a smaller mini little journal. But it's like, if you have a room full of normal size books, having the one mini journal there is going to look like a mistake, right? It's better to just make it the same size as the other ones and remove that doubt.
Yeah, it's just adding to a confusion. Mm-hmm. Okay, covered a bunch of stuff with it. That's the stage you're at. Again, a lot of work, a lot of payoff. Yes. The room feels much more fleshed out.
There's a lot of good stuff here, so
perspective is good.
Don't want you to think that we're just knocking it down. Mm-hmm. Like, all these things are beautifully drawn. Like, this is awesome. I think you vastly improved the character. Yes. You obviously got some reference for this, so good job. These pieces back here look good. It's just a matter of adjusting the scale on some of these things.
What I want to encourage you on is what you did as far as going from where you were to where you are. Keep that in mind. That right there that you did, that's how you improve. Mm-hmm. That is the process that you have to go through to create the kind of image that you're trying to create. Where you're doing lots of referencing, you're taking a lot of reference pictures, you're paying attention to the folds, you're paying attention to the perspective, you're like being very methodical and intentional about all this stuff.
Yeah, about each part.
That is how you do it. That's how you get good results. So it's really good to see you're doing the right thing. So, okay,
I don't think anyone else is here because I asked and nobody responded. Yeah. So we're just going to go through the rest in order, I suppose.
Yep. Bjorn, you are up. Okay. Really fun scene. It looks like you're probably having fun with this. I hope you are. This is the Hippogriff Sky Race scene. And we've got two variations. We talked about the variations a little bit last time about what they could be. Essentially, we have a camera light It's coming from the camera direction, just off from the camera a little bit. This is the same sort of lighting setup that, say, Rockwell used a lot on his illustrations. And then this one is backlit. And these are good options for complex scenes like this because it essentially flattens out a lot of the forms. Because if you have to do full form rendering of light, shadow, pattern, and values on every piece from fully lit to fully shadowed, it's very difficult to pull that off on a fictional subject and make it feel correct. So this sort of sidesteps that issue a little bit. So the colors are working on both of these. You could go with either one of these as far as the lighting and the values. If you go with the left one, then I think you can pull down the values a little bit because we are getting a bit washed out on some of this kind of unnecessarily. I would not suggest going to gray. I think you can go to more blue, violet, as it kind of goes into the distance.
Yeah.
Now, this is also second to the fact that the drawing got changed.
Yes. So this has happened again. This has happened with a few, with a couple of the participants. So Bjorn, there were some changes made here that we noticed, and like Abraham, I'm assuming that you had reasons. Your reasons. I wish you were here so that you could tell us what they were. But much like in the other situation, I think more was lost than gained by these changes, honestly. If I didn't feel that way, I wouldn't say it, and we're not nitpicking you. We genuinely were kind of bummed out that you changed things about the sketch that were working really well.
Yep.
Like the position of the head was so much stronger here than now this kind of side view. We were getting a really downward, view of the top of the head. It looked correct. The legs looked nice like this too. I don't know what happened or why. The position of the rider has also changed. And I know we mentioned scaling it down, but not changing the actual pose. I think it's really unfortunate because what you had here was so energetic. It really felt like she was going fast, and the wind was going through the clothing and the face. Like this was just looking great. And I don't know that this looks more like a race, and this looks more like I'm just having fun riding a hippogriff.
Yeah, so let's note the actual differences here where she feels like she's moving faster on the sketch than on the left one. This feels like, I'm just out for a joyride. This feels like I'm in a race trying to go fast. But why? Visually, we're getting that because the head is locked in a front sort of extended position, like it's in a dive. Right? It is as aerodynamic as possible. The character's pose is the sort of pose you have when you're getting blasted back.
Yeah.
She's just trying to hold on. Here, she doesn't feel like she's being pushed as hard because she's kind of off to one side, the elbows crooked a little bit, right? There's not as much pressure. Over here, we're getting hair going back. Here, in a comfortable little bun, right? That doesn't feel like it's moving as much. So those are what we're cluing into that makes it feel like we've lost a little bit. Now, that's just on the character. We've also lost...
Then you went to town on the background.
We've lost the castle.
Now look, I know that painting a castle in the background is a pain. And I know that, it's something I would avoid doing, too, if I could. The problem is that you already showed it to us. And that's the thing with clients, too. Is like, if you showed this sketch to a client and then you came back with this color rough, same thing with Abraham. 9 out of 10 times, they're going to tell you to go back to this because you've already shown them a castle. And they're going to be like, well, where's the castle that you showed me, that you were going to give me, and now you're not giving me this castle anymore. I also feel like the position of the Quidditch pitch was better here. It felt like it was more in line with the perspective and looking more down on the environment.
Yeah, so it's just kind of a visual downgrade to go from the nice big castle that we're familiar with, which I think you could probably go in Sketchfab and find a facsimile of that to download.
Yeah.
To just getting one tower. And the tower itself is a bit ill-positioned because it ends right there, and it just tucks quietly into this one little pocket of empty space.
And honestly, we do kind of expect Hogwarts here because you're still giving us the Quidditch pitch, so it kind of feels like it should be nearby, but we're not getting it anywhere, I don't think.
No.
So I would say, get a 3D mock-up. They're around for free, or get a screenshot of one and just pop it in there.
Yeah, there's multiple flyover shots of Hogwarts in the films, even if you have to change the lighting or whatever. And you don't have to do full detail. Like, you don't have to have full detail in the rendering back here. You
just need form lighting.
Yeah. You can basically treat it as flat, put some edge highlight on it, a few occlusion shadows in the darkest areas. That's all you really need to do. The lighting effect and colors down here are nice. I agree that I kind of like this one because I feel like I'm looking down on it more. And over here, I feel like I'm just kind of looking almost more sideways at it.
Again, because why? Because here you're giving us these lines, and here you're not really giving us as much of a convergence, right? The angle here is a lot more acute, is the word. So that is why it has that feel to it. I also don't know that this more complex pose is necessarily an improvement for something that far away. I think what you had would have been perfectly serviceable.
You're already there, so I'd say go with it, but
Also be careful with all these and this. I think we're adding too many at this point. I don't think we need all that.
I am going to recommend that we fix the tangent of where this runs directly into the tail.
That didn't exist on the previous version.
So when we scaled her down, we saw we get more tail, we get less cape.
And this is what we talk about when you repose your characters or repose elements in the scene away from your original sketch. You may create new tangents and so you're solving one problem and creating another one. So just be aware of that.
So we need to do one of two things. Either this whole thing needs to clearly go out this way and overlap to that side, or it needs to buckle up and go this way so that we can see that. And we just need to get this off of the way going the other direction. It needs to be one or the other, something.
I don't know how you feel about this, Bjorn, because you're not here and you can't tell us, but honestly, this is such a better image that I feel like if I was you, I would apply these colors that you have with some tweaks onto this sketch and just take this to a final render. But, well, what do you have to say?
It's your call. Of the inclusion of the harness and the saddles are good. Either way, definitely keep those. It gets the same thing that we said to Abraham, which is for optimal results, I'd go back to this with edits that we talked about, but using the lighting and the color direction that you already have. Before I have a limited amount of time to do this hobby drawing over the next 2 weeks, then go with what you've got, because we don't want to make you have to do more than
we don't want to stress you out.
Make you give up all your nights and weekends, right, for this little challenge.
That's true.
So that's the feedback there. Again, either one of these can work for me. I don't think that one's necessarily so superior to the other as far as lighting and color is.
Pretty similar. It's just that this one feels a little chalky.
Yeah.
A little more washed out.
No.
So I think you brought some color back into it, no?
Yeah, you could
just boost it.
pull the curves a little bit and get, I think, particularly more blue from the sky and along the horizon, getting more color along the horizon there. I think that alone would help a lot. And just trying to keep away from too much of the gray along that horizon and sky area.
Yeah. That's what we've got. Let's go to the next one. Already been here for quite some time.
Yeah, we
appreciate it, you guys hanging out with us. So this is Janine.
Janine has run into an issue that every artist runs into. So she started with the midnight duel scene with the sketch, which is the one that we looked at. And then we have changed it to this, the potion classroom. It has no characters in it. You can see the description right there. And went for a 3D model mock-up to help solve some of the drawing and layout questions that the scene would have. I'm going to encourage both Janine and everyone else who ever tries to do scenes that switching briefs, because like we're having difficulty with the other scene and being able to pull it off. So we've switched scenes, but realize that every time that you do that, you are just switching to a different version of the same problem. And I love analogies. I'm going to give an analogy. She thinks I use too many analogies.
Don't let that stop you.
I'm not. But I'm just saying, like, when I was a boy, I couldn't ride a bike. My friends could. I wanted to learn how to ride a bike. So my dad got me a bike. And I went and tried to ride it a couple of times. And every time I fell over. Now, I could have looked at the bike and go, you know what? I know what the problem is. It's this dang bike. I need a different bike. And I could have set that bike aside and got a different bike. And if I had done that, what would have been the results? Exactly the same. Because the problem didn't lie in the bike. The problem lied in my ability to ride the bike. So when you're trying to do a new subject, in this case, scene compositions, then the problem isn't with the scene, it's learning to compose the scene. And by switching, all you've done is give yourself a different version of the same problem to solve. And switching doesn't sidestep the problem, it just starts your step one of the same thing again.
It just creates a different set of problems. So because it's a different image with different variables, right? So and this is, now we're kind of going on a tangent. This is not specifically to Janine, because this is a super common thing.
Yes.
And we've seen it with students many times, even going through our classes. We always try to encourage students to not abandon their projects and start a new one, because what people assume is, well, I'm having problems solving this, so if I just get a different thing, that will be easier to solve. And they don't anticipate that they're going to have a lot of problems solving that one too.
Yes.
Because the difficulty is in solving it, right? It's not what it is, but it's in the process of getting through it. So here, you're kind of running into a similar problem in the sense that, okay, it's a different subject right now. We don't have the characters in there. And if you feel uncomfortable with characters, I totally get it. You know, you wanting to remove them from the equation. But we still have a lighting, composing problem, a focal point problem, staging problem. with a scene like this, which is just an environment and a bunch of props, right?
So this is an illustration challenge. And an illustration challenge is really two things. It is drawing composition, and it is rendering. And we've done a lot of these challenges, and it's common to have artists come in and they focus only on the second. It is, I'm going to paint it really well. That's half of the equation. That's half of the process. So if you're ever tempted to switch briefs, which we try to tell our participants, particularly in the fantasy class, never switch your briefs. If we've already started, don't switch your briefs.
It just puts you behind as well.
Yeah. That is the challenge. Learning to solve the composition, learning to compose the scene, to design the scene, that is the challenge. And so by trying to sidestep that, you're trying to sidestep the very thing that you're actually trying to do. So that's just something to keep in mind, because I tell you, if anybody watching this, if you illustrate for any length of time, you're going to run into that same feeling. 100%. I felt that. And
you got to hammer through it, because what happens is if you just keep, and then again, it's not to Janine, because I don't think Janine has a habit of doing this, but if you make it a habit of sidestepping, switching, and I've seen people do this a lot, where they just abandon the brief, and it's a new brief, and basically this is what unfinished whips are. You ran into problems, you hit a wall, and you're like, I'm out. Peace, I'm starting fresh. And sometimes you need to do that, and sometimes it's okay. But if you keep doing that, you'll never actually make progress in solving an image. And just as an example, this happens to us all. There's some images where, oh my gosh, there are walls that you are hitting with what you're trying to do, what you're trying to pull off, your skills, the amount of reference you have or don't have. And it's like beating your head against a wall, trying to break through that wall to get that effect or that composition or the values to work. And just last week, I was working on a piece where I had an area that I had to repaint. It wasn't working, and I think I must have repainted it at least 40 times. And I basically had kind of a sort of, I don't know what you would call it. I kind of crashed out. It was what the kids say. Yeah. I had to crash out, and that involved weeping and just wanting to give up. And basically I just needed to take a day or two away from it. And then now I'm like, okay, I'm going to crack this. I'm going to find a solution. It may be not that solution that I was trying to do. I have to think about it a different way and come up with a solution, but I can't give up on this. So that's really that's what we get paid to do. Yep. That's what the challenge is, and that's what the job is I have to solve this brief. I have to interpret this.
Solving that problem is the job. And if you don't like doing that, if you're not up for doing that, then I'm going to suggest maybe looking at a different option if you're intending to do this professionally. Yeah. Because that's what you're going to do. And that's what separates really tiers of artists. It's the ones that can
There's kind of different solutions to this. I've seen people work. We'll go back to this in just one moment. This is just a side note. I've seen people actually work in teams where, of two, where one artist just likes to draw and compose the image, and the other person just paints it, renders it. And they just enjoy those parts of the process, so they actually team up. It's difficult because you got to split your commissions two ways. Yeah. But there are people who do that. I've seen them before working on big properties in that way. So that could be something that, anyone listening to this that feels that way can explore. But anyway, that aside, let's look at Janine's piece, and we'll circle back to this topic later.
Janine, having the skill and the willingness to do a 3D block out of the scene, absolutely great. okay, this can help solve a lot of issues for perspective, depth, keeping size consistency, as well as really helping you figure out camera angles and options and that sort of thing. So it's super useful for that, but I'm going to encourage you to make sure that you're doing thumbnail sketches before you ever start the 3D. And figure out what a good composition would be before you even start the 3D. So that you're building the 3D to fulfill the drawing instead of what it kind of feels like is you set up the 3D and then you're just like, well, we'll see what I have. And there is a lot of references out there for this sort of thing. So I just went out to Pinterest and I just put in like potions classroom and I pulled off some pictures. So like, here's one. I think this is from Levston Studio in London.
Yeah, I
of
think
the
this
actual
is real.
set.
So forgive us if we pull up anything that looks like AI, because I honestly, some of them I can't tell anymore. But I think this is real.
So this isn't what you want, but it has pieces of what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is that there is a cauldron that's nice and close to the camera. The camera's a little lower, so we're getting essentially a hero shot of one of the cauldrons. And then you could move the wall back and you could put another table there. Maybe we have some books or something here instead of just
But we're
these
closer
things.
to something, so we have something to focus on.
Yeah. Again, like this is still probably a little far out, but you could crop into something like that and that would work.
Well, also, go back to the other one for a minute. I like the fact that all the lines, this is maybe a bit too symmetrical for me, but I like the fact that all the horizontals and the verticals are broken up here with this archway.
Mm-hmm.
There's something kind of interrupting it, and we have a few different textures. It's not just bottles all the way up. We have like a stone texture here and a painted texture and a wood door. So we're getting a little bit of variation.
Now, you can start with the box as the basic room, but then you want to find ways to break that up somehow. This is probably AI.
I don't know.
But
I think it might be.
I like the idea that you can see some of the stone wall. Maybe you hint a little bit of a window. Maybe instead of just basic shelves, it's more like a cupboard sort of thing. You got some wooden architecture back there. That's nice. Again, I think this is from the actual Levston.
From the set.
Yeah, from the set. This would be a good way to like basically do a horizontal kind of like this. So my encouragement is that even a room sort of scene, we need to have a focal point. And that's kind of what we're missing right now is this is clearly the focal point
it's almost
of this
like
image.
the character, right?
Yeah. So if the camera was a little further down and the cauldron was a little bigger, and then we crop, again, if we lowered the perspective a little bit, then these tables start compressing down some. And we could get a little bit of the wall back here. Yeah, we just need somebody that's like closer. So I'd say start off with doing some sketches of, oh, can I have like a big cauldron here on this table, and then there's another table back here, there's another cauldron there, and maybe there's a third table, there's another cauldron in the background, I have some of this here. I'm going to make sure you see some of the open books here. I've got some vials here, back here. I'm going to have some perspective lines from the shelves and stuff coming back. Maybe I'll have a window on this side. And everything's kind of pointing you back to that big cauldron. Maybe there's some runes or something on it. I've got some vials and stuff next to it, a little mortar and a pestle. So I'm using a basic kind of like thirds arrangement with a clear focal point. But you've got all the stuff here. I think you can do that with your scene, with your 3D. but you need to go take a look at ways to arrange sort of a prop setup.
Where to put your camera, too.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just kind of taking a general photograph of the whole room. So we kind of need to get in closer to something, give us a clear focal point. And also, one of the things I'm noticing, so just notice it as you're going forward, is that this is very boxy, right? Mm-hmm. And I know it's classroom material, but we're just getting rectangle, 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 and lots of, it's a box full of boxes, right? So again, when you frame your shot, and also the fact that you gave us one screenshot, I would have at least tried to move the camera into different positions and given us a few more to work with. But when depending on how much of the back you can see, once you reposition your camera, it's like, yeah, maybe put an archway. Is there a door where all the kids come in? Stone arch, and got the shelf on this side, and maybe a bookcase on this side, and is maybe a statue or something over here, to break it up, to keep it from being just boxes and straight lines, kind of a grid everywhere.
Yep.
So something to think about.
If you do have the 3D, then this is also where you can set up some lights to help solve a lot of your light shadow value questions.
Yeah, just throw some lights in Blender real quick, but don't position them randomly. Get a lighting reference, and then try to mimic some of the lighting reference setups to see what you like the best.
Javier is doing the Stone Defender. Some good improvement. Listen to a lot of the feedback from last time. We have now lowered the perspective.
That's a good call.
It puts a lot more emphasis on the character. We've got more of the castle visible, got some more perspective on it.
Oh, Javier's here. Hi.
Hey, Javier. So these are really good improvements for basically the layout of the scene. Now, the mixed bag here is you're getting ahead of yourself, where we have a lot of detailing already going on. And this is a situation where essentially what we have is just a hue slider change. The lighting is exactly the same. The values are exactly the same in all of them. It's just one is orange, one is green, one is blue. Where, as we've looked at some of the other things, it would be better if, could we do a scene where he's lit from the front? Maybe the castle is lit from the back. Could it be lit from the right side? Could it be lit from the left side? Like, give me some different...
Could there be like a night or a dusk, sunset, some more different options from each other.
The cloud's always the same. The candles are the same place, the same number. Try some different variations, not just color variations, but setup. That is a better place to put your time at this stage than adding more resolution. We're getting into the fine-tuning of adding like moss and lichen to the stone. And I say that is an issue, not because you shouldn't get there, not because that shouldn't be there, but because we're locked in now. You've already put in so much detail work that it's very difficult for an artist to emotionally change things at the stage where they've already put in the details.
It's pretty tight. You've gotten really in here and committed to a lot of these things. And this kind of lighting. I don't know if you had it as a separate layer, but it looks kind of baked in at this point into a lot of the castle. So the reason we say not to go so far with your texture detailing is because if you don't have all your shadows on a separate layer, this results in repainting if you want to change anything. And then because of that, it actually makes you avoid changing anything because it means more repainting. So you leave options kind of unexplored. So yeah, let's look at some alterations to kind of plus it.
Yeah. I didn't do it very much. I made a quick change here to remind myself. And the gist of the idea is getting more from his pose. He should have a little more from his body language. It's just the hips are completely straight and the body is completely straight and the legs are basically straight to us. This is not really the way something walks, and it's not very dynamic. So instead, what we could do is give like more of a lumber to it. This leg's going this way, so you're going to be doing this sort of thing, right? This leg's coming forward. Is it going the other way? Yeah, that one's coming forward.
That one's forward, yeah.
So the chest would be leaning this way. Then the hips are going to be leaning that way because this leg has to come forwards. Because this hip is high, then this shoulder is low, which means that this arm can be dropped lower. And maybe we put the hand here so that we can get the mace out over top of the shoulder. And we got this more sort of lumbering, powerful stance. And it's natural that the chest and the hips go opposite directions to keep your balance as you're going.
It might not be super strong. But
yeah, it may not be really strong, but it's one of the ways we can eke some more out of it. The rest would just be working more with the values of the scene and trying to adjust some of the value pairs where like this, the values of the sky and the values and the colors of the building all just run together. We're not getting a separation of them. So we could get something more like this. This is where we start thinking in terms of larger color blocks, larger value
kind of
blocks.
letting the sky sit in its own range. And then also working with gradients. And we do this a lot in our backgrounds where we let background elements kind of go dark to light. And then we kind of have the sky in the background doing the opposite thing, going light to dark in the opposite way, or a little bit higher up. In this case, it's going a little bit higher up. But yeah, they're sitting in their own ranges, right? And then in the foreground, we've got this warm light, and it is just kind of dominating this area and separating it from the stuff in the back, you see, and it kind of gives it strength, makes the back sit in a different value range from your foreground elements. You see this?
So this is where you can push this sort of thing, experiment with these sorts of approaches to the values and colors at the color rough stage, but it's also the thing that's going to be really difficult for you since you've already emotionally invested in the details.
Yeah, don't forget to pop some little windows. I mean, they're there.
Yeah.
Why not, right? Just you could give some of these. I don't know how many of these are windows up here, but you could pop a few more.
Yeah, I touched a couple of them here, and it's not even a bad idea to, like, you know, maybe somebody has a lantern. Maybe you could put in.
Someone has a torch.
Yeah. You've got a little torch back here, or maybe her wand is giving some light, or you could even indicate maybe there's some light coming out of a door back there, or maybe the entryway has some light in it. Just some ways to break up kind of the gray, try to make it feel like it has a little more sense of life to it. That's where I would go with this stage. And the one last note is I would have referenced this. This looks oddly striated. I would aim for more
but
texture
or like conical.
Yeah.
And because why do we say this? When you shade a form this way, like with these, it feels like it's going like this, the form.
Like it's going
It feels
up.
like it's dipping.
Yeah.
In some way. Like that. And I don't think that's what you intended. You intended for it to be like that, right? So I would just even up your shading, like what you did here on this area and what you did here. This is correct. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. But other than that, that would be, something that you could, I think is perfectly doable for you that you could work on to...
Yeah. That's just one thing that caught me off, and it's worth spending a little time.
And this is not something that you just pulled out today out of your mind. This is a common setup in many Magic cards.
Yes.
So if you go look, especially like Greg Rakowski's cards, this is like a super common solution to where to put, like, what value range for those planes from front to back. I would just go take a look at those if it's something you want to get more familiar with.
Yep. Okay.
All right, let's look at Jennifer. Jennifer's got a Rowena Ravenclaw.
Okay, we've got several different lighting setups here. Lit basically from the front, I would say front side, because the Patronus basically is the light source. Same sort of thing here, except for now we got light hitting in different places. And we've got this sort of window light that's creating this pattern of like window panes against the wall. And here we've got light off screen on the other side. So these, I like the intentionality of trying to use different lighting directions, where it's coming from, creates different visual patterns. This is one where having some accent lighting from the Patronus, fine. Not a problem with that. And you should utilize that to a degree, but I do not recommend that being the sole light source in the scene.
Or even your main one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually discourage using any magic or VFX effect as your primary light source. Just because it kind of puts you in a bind with trying to light an entire scene with that light, that small light source.
So introduce some ambient light. Just let the average level of light go up a little bit. And this one, I mean, it's a fun idea, but visually it takes a little effort to parse what's going on.
I didn't register it at first.
Yeah, it's just an odd pattern where we're getting a lot of like squarish things on top of books.
I kind of feel like this would interrupt this, and you would see some of these lines here maybe, I'm not sure, and you would see the shadows of the books somewhere, because they look like it's hard to, marry this.
I lean away from that. I feel like this one is working the best, so I suggest going with this route. One is toning down the Patronus. We've talked about it. The middle of the Patronus, more see-through. The edges are brighter. Don't be afraid of shifting it to being more color and less white. Increase the amount of ambient light in the scene. And also, we're getting into a very kind of unnecessarily limited color range where everything is very kind of muted.
I know it's a blue card, and so that, blue should be in it, but this is getting a bit, like, everything is very cold.
Yeah, so I made some edit pass to this to get to here. So first was just doing a image auto color, and then tweaking the color balance a little bit just to get some base colors back, local colors back into the objects, and then darken this down so he's more color than he is just white. And right there we've expanded the palette out. It's still blue. She's still obviously bright blue costume. That's enough. Next is adding some atmosphere into the scene so that we can pop out some of this stuff. Now I'm kind of reversing this. You had maybe the books being a little brighter than background. I think that once you add atmosphere, take that out a little bit, then we want to probably treat these more shadow. And so we have a shadow layer that allows us to drop this down. Like, we're having a lit background, okay, then have a shadow foreground. This is a blackboard, so you put in a light edge on it. Good. These are lit back here. Okay, then let's emphasize the shadow on that side of the body so that we've got contrast against it. So if we pull out, we can see we've got more color, we've got more separation because we've got some midtones now, the contrast against the light and the darks. Well, that's the way I recommend taking it. Again, you can go further with this than what I did. I would also recommend letting the light go further. I'd let more of the face be lit, maybe even to the point of having like a little light over to that side.
Yeah, give it like a 3/4.
Yeah, a 3/4 light to it. Because otherwise you're only going to get the cold underlighting, and I don't know that that's going to be as attractive. This is a sort of problematic thing is where you have bright light on one side and then light on this side. What you're going to get is just a core shadow right down the middle of the face because you've got light from each side like this.
And it's kind of an even amount. That's the problem.
So what you want is one of them to be dominant.
Yeah, like the ball.
And then you've got core shadow here, and then you just have a bit of the accent light there, and this is a better distribution of the shadow light balance. Okay, that's the suggestions with this one. The drawing's quite good. I think the whole scene is reading quite well.
It's looking good. Yeah, just some color tweaks there, and I think you can take it to finish.
Yeah. Zach.
Yeah, 2 more.
2 more. Most of you are still hanging around. I appreciate you hanging around.
Appreciate you.
Trying to give you guys as much help as we can here. Zach is going for the Wizard's Duel during the night in the library, and really committing to the color of the magic, which I'm all for, and trying to make it colorful. So you've got a split option here. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. In my book, these all fit about the same place option-wise. We're not really getting different value options. All we're doing is switching one of them's red and one of them's blue. We don't know the local colors of anything. We're not introducing any other lights in the scene. There's no ambient light. There's no moonlight. There's no lanterns.
I think we still had that problem last time because it was already at this stage last time.
Yeah. So we've got to be paying attention to what is this about and what do we visually need to be able to understand. We can make him out reasonably well here, but it's getting practically lost. And for a TCG at 2 inches, the guy's disappeared. You're not even going to be able to register that guy as even there. So, again, for a night scene, we probably don't want to go that dark.
We need some ambient light.
Got to get some ambient light, got to get some atmosphere to bring up the value. Let's just look at some of this. This is an option, like you can have an off-screen window that's lighting up some atmosphere. We got a little edge light on him. We've got some value separation on him that allows us to make him out even when it's little.
And yeah, I don't want to pick on you, but can you zoom out? But I would really rethink this. I think you need to tone this down because it just covers up the whole silhouette of the guy and you can't make it out.
Yeah, that's the thing is the magic has just become so much. It really is just about the spell, and we're kind of losing the characters in the middle of all of this. I feel like the character is almost an afterthought. All I see is this.
Just a lot.
Um,
Magic effects are cool, but you usually, you don't need that much to sell the effect.
So this is an example of red is tricky, okay? Red is tricky because if you try to raise the value of red, you get this, which is not bright, it's not energetic, it's just dull pink. So you've got two options. One is you treat it like a lightsaber, in which case you've got really, really super saturated on the edges, and then it's completely white on the inside. And essentially, this just serves as a glow along the edge. Yeah. And so most of it is actually white, and you just have the edge glow. The other option is that you run through either the yellow-orange side towards red, or you run through the magenta side towards red.
You run through the color wheel,
So
adjacent colors.
here you could do that. Maybe it starts off as like kind of a red here, and then it goes through oranges and yellows until it gets to white, right? Or vice versa, right? You can get the gradient to go whatever way. Or you can have it go through like magentas, because you can get some magentas that are really saturated to a higher value than you can get red. And then again, on that, you could also jump it up as well, and that can work as well. So that's just particularly tricky for red magic.
But that was the brief.
That was the brief. So for that one, make sure that you're looking at some good references. And these are some that came to my mind. I think maybe we looked at that last time, something like this, right? Again, this is a dusk scene. You could get away with the same values.
And it's still about the characters. Like, the magic is not
that's a good point.
Obfuscating the characters, not covering them up to a point where we can't see them. Even this is a lot, but I'm guessing that was the brief that they got. But you still got to see the guy in here. And you can see this character really, really clearly. So just something to think about.
I would take a lot of inspiration from that approach. Try to get your character to have as much interest and visual love as that character has.
Okay. And you may disagree here. Maybe you do disagree with me, and sometimes we disagree on things too. But I feel that this character is more interesting than this magic effect. Right now you're prioritizing this. I know this is part of the brief, and there's supposed to be an explosion here where their magic meets, but I still feel like the guy should be a little bit closer and a little bit bigger so we can see more of him.
I don't even know that we need to see her feet, honestly.
No, I don't think so.
Like, if we get this...
Oh, you're on the wrong layer.
Like, we can get her bigger.
Yeah, it's already looking better.
I think you could do that. Let me actually just...
Get her bigger.
Getting more here. And then we can get this guy actually a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
And then we get more of that angle on him.
Honestly, it's closer to the scale, the placement, and the size from those other images. And it's not like, okay, copy those ones. No, it's just, can you see the characters well in those ones? Yes, then that's probably a good thing to replicate.
Yeah, and like we said last time, there's only a few good ways to essentially do a dual image of like two people dueling, not just two people in an image. which is the way I said it earlier. So there, again, boom, now we're really up on this character. It feels more about the characters now because they're so much bigger.
Mm-hmm. And it feels like you're there in the fight, too, which is cool. You're closer to it.
So that would be an idea. Let me quickly pull up some other ones that had some good points. I saw this one. I thought this was a really interesting way. Like, it feels like it's nighttime back there.
I was not familiar with this piece by Magali. This is so friggin' good.
This is expertly done. I just came across it this afternoon.
God. I hadn't seen it. That is super
Look how
good.
Minimal this is. We're using just basically, I would say 3 values, I guess.
Yeah, but
lighter
never
blue,
mind.
darker blue.
That
and then,
spacing is even. That nothing is sloppy back there. That is nice.
But I pulled this up to show this is night, but it's a brighter value, and we're applying a lot of detail without having to show a lot. Another one I thought that I looked at when I did the Candlekeep cover.
That one?
Here. And this also has an interesting dynamic of it's nighttime, but we essentially have the cool moonlight coming down from the top and the warm lantern light coming up. And that keeps everything colorful. And we can still get some of the natural color from the objects coming through. And we could have that on the scene. And it really is, think in terms of doing a day for night. They do that in films where essentially you're lighting it only by changing the color and adding more atmosphere does it look like it's nighttime. Yeah. But otherwise, it uses essentially the same values as the daytime scene.
The same setup.
Yeah. So that's some suggestions. Maybe we're suggesting taking it in a different way than what you had in mind. But hey, we'll throw out what we see.
That's what we're here to do. Okay, one more piece. It's Miyuki. Miyuki's classroom catastrophe.
So, transfiguration catastrophe. We've got the potion stuff turning into birds, flying away. I like what you did. You've developed this and didn't break any of the charm of the drawing from the original sketch. You fleshed it out quite a bit.
Oh, Miyuki's here. Hey, Miyuki. We didn't know you were here, or we would have looked at this earlier.
Yeah. So these are good options. I want to say that we've got a nice, bright, sunny day. We have more atmosphere kind of glowing around the characters. A more balanced, kind of cooler range, and then an evening sort of twilight color. Again, I like that. If I'm the art director, I'm going to respond well to having 3 distinct options here. My nose is itchy. So we've looked at this and we made a little edit to it. We'll turn it on in a second. I think the best option is actually between A and B. It's combining a few of the elements. Because what I like about this is there is some extra color. It feels like there's plenty of sunshine. Has a nice tone that goes along with the fun sort of feel of it. But we're losing a lot in the window. A bit washed out, overexposed. The window here is nice that we can see a little tower back there. We're getting some blue sky. This one just feels a bit dark. I don't feel like it's
starting to feel a little bit sad.
Yeah. It's not doing anything that the other ones aren't doing better. Okay. So let's step through what some of those tweaks would look like. This is just a brightness contrast, just boosting things up a bit. Mainly for this one. I thought that could use a little pass. Just for fun, I was like, oh, he's kicking back. Maybe that book is like
It
starting
really
to
looks
slip
like
out.
he's about to fall, and it's very stressful.
So that'd be a fun little change there. And then this is putting in the window, basically, from over there. So now we've got some nice blues to help balance out some of the warms that we're getting from that room. So we need a colorful range there. Oh, of course it was a Slytherin. I didn't even notice that. Of course a Slytherin is making all this trouble.
What?
Bunch of troublemakers.
That's very mean. Yeah. They get a lot of slack. I mean,
They get a lot of bad
just
rap.
like every child in this house is evil, apparently.
I know all the good ones like, man, everybody razzes us because we have one or two jerks in our house.
I don't know. It's very weird. Like, if the whole house is jerks, why does it even exist? I don't know. I don't get it.
So here we do want some of the brightness of the light, but it does mean that a lot of the colors are getting pushed to basically the same bright sort of orangey yellow. So to counter that a little bit and get a little close to what you have here, but not this cool, would be to tone down some of the wood and just get a bit darker value, a little duller, a little more to the walnut, sort of mahogany.
Yeah, I feel like this really helps kind of make the wood feel more grounded, separated out from the other things that are on the shelves. Yeah.
Few suggestions here. I think you can get away with doing some little edge light kind of catching across the tops planes of the stuff in front of the window.
Especially this really dark stuff in here. It looks really nice.
Yeah. The tops of the books, the lacquered surface of the tables, really going to catch a lot of that glare if you want to play up that aspect. The other thing that you've got to answer for yourself, I don't know what you want to do, which is what kind of rendering are you wanting to do?
Yeah, this is my question. Also, Miyuki, this is for you and actually everybody. You really need to turn your lines down or off in order to really judge the scene. If you're planning on doing a full render, because you won't be able to rely on the lines because you're going to be painting them out, presumably. Like, I don't know if that's what you had in mind. I know that when we worked together previously on other projects, that, you know, for some clients there was a line art approach specifically needed, and for others there was a painted with no lines approach. So I know that you do both, and I'm not sure what you were aiming for on here, but if you're aiming for fully painted, we need to see kind of what it's going to look like without the lines. And that goes for everyone else too, to judge how well your lighting is working and your values. It really should work without the lines already at this stage.
So I'm just trying to mock in kind of what it looks like without the lines by just using a lighten layer to paint out some of that. It's holding together pretty well, but are you going to go for a more realistic render? Because the faces are still quite stylized. We still have exaggerated proportions of the eyes, right?
Especially on this one. It's slightly towards the cartoony still. Sorry, I'm not sure what you're going for.
That's okay, but you need to make sure whatever level of stylization you're using is consistent throughout the whole image. All the book shapes are stylized. All the clothing folds are stylized in the same manner. Like, not just I'm making the eyes big and the faces aren't.
And if you're going for like a more magic style, then yeah, I would definitely reference the latest like Strixhaven pieces and kind of see the treatment of the painting and the proportions on the rendered images to see, like, you know, if you're right in the right ballpark or not, depending on what your intention was.
Yeah. Let's see. Had some other layer. Oh, it was just brightening her a little bit. Another thing on this layer is taking a note out of Kate Burmack's playbook and decreasing the value contrast and the resolution of the things right behind the foreground subjects. So you're not necessarily making them fuzzy, you're just going from, there's more contrast of it here and much lower contrast between the tones there, and potentially, as she does, actually graying things out a little bit as it goes right behind the person. Yeah. And it's a good way to just help planes pop from each other. I've started doing it more, and I really like the results of doing that. The last is we need some attention on this guy up here, because we've got dark hair and darker skin over a darker background, and like the cat's values and colors are running against the walls colors in the books. So visually that's just getting kind of messy. And I would say a simple solution is probably the best solution, which is like either overall it needs to be darker than the background, and the background needs to go up in value, or all of it needs to be clearly brighter than the background, or we can have like an accent light, something like this.
The background's been brought up a little bit, and he and the cat are still darker, and then you hit them with a side light.
Yeah.
And then you got to put some on her too, otherwise, if he's the only one with a side light, it's going to look weird.
Yeah, and maybe even get some like here on her or something. I don't know if it's coming over or what. But we need a little more separation there. I think it worked a little better on this one, but this one just has a bit too much gray.
It's a bit too cold.
Yeah. So that's why I lean to this side, and there's multiple ways to address it. Just make sure it is addressed by one way or the other. I think you should keep them visible because I love the cat.
And the expression on the kid is good too.
Yep.
Because you're not getting an expression from this girl. She's turning away. So we need that extra emphasis where there's like chaos and they're supporting each other with these expressions, and she's kind of oblivious to it. So yeah, we don't want to change. We don't want to downplay that guy too much.
Okay, it took me a second to register. Something felt off about this dude. I get what it is now. You don't raise the same arm and leg on the same side.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He's not going to raise his right foot and right hand. If he's losing his balance, he's always going to raise his left hand with his right foot. So you've got a couple of options. I think the easiest is probably just make this the other leg and make it look like that leg is the one extending. You'll have to move it down a little bit so that we have...
You can see some of the crotch.
Yeah, you see a little bit of the crotch fold, and then that leg starting to go back. And then it's going to come down here. That would be a more natural pose. Okay. Yeah, lovely scene. Really, really charming. And I'm very glad to see the way that you've developed this scene. This is one of those we talk about, guys, that like nothing is kind of wasted. We're filling the space with books, with scrolls, with action. There's things to look at everywhere that adds to the narrative and the feeling of the scene.
Yeah, Miyuki's always good at that, at staging the scene, set dressing. So yeah, very good. And also we're really glad that you're training in this area into illustration. I know it's a bit outside your normal comfort zone, but I think it's a good thing. Yeah, I could just call out the really humorous bird potion bottles. I mean, that's a new one. I've never seen that before, so that's fun. Okay, guys. Yeah. So any questions from anyone before we wrap up for the evening? It's been 3 hours almost of this. So if you guys are tired, we get it. But if anyone has any questions before we wrap up, we'll take a few of those. And yeah, going back to the other subject, like the hardest part of this job, and it's a separate skill from just rendering or just painting real nice, is solving a brief, solving the image. How am I going to frame this shot? How am I going to show my focal point? Where am I going to put stuff? Where am I going to put my camera? Where am I going to put the light? And that is what we get paid to do. That's the job. It's not just I can copy this photo or I can render this, texture real good. Those are totally separate skills. And that's why we say, like, if you want to really get good at this and do this professionally, for those that do, or those that don't and just want to do it for themselves, it's good to spend a lot of time on this stage, your color roughs and your comp sketches, to really, like, do this well and this well, and that'll, like, take you really far.
Yeah, this is one I did for Caddy Bree for her color rough. And like you notice on this, we're saying it needs to work without the lines. There's no lines here. All it is color and value and light setup. And if it can work like this, the painting's going to work. Because the lines are just accent. Any clue or secret info on the courses in development? I'm so curious.
We can't say anything yet.
Well, I can tell you about the one that's the closest, which is the portraits class.
We already mentioned that in the last video.
So, portraits class, and this ought to be pretty good. I've put a lot of time into the portraits class. So it approaches it in a way where if you've not really studied portraits before, it's a decent introduction to just portraits in general. Then it goes over drawing the portrait, painting the portrait, and doing basically the character design aspect of character portraits.
And adapting portraits into characters.
Yeah.
And then I think I mentioned in last week the new class that I'm working on already. So that one's pretty close to done as well. It's not done, but it's pretty close. Which is going to be just focused on romance illustration and illustrating couples and book covers. And then the new ones in development, we can't really say because we don't want to say it yet, but I guess we can say it's not a redo of anything we've done before. They're all new courses.
Well, yeah, we're bringing on some people that are experts in other subjects. We're wanting to expand more into the concept art side. Because we have a lot of illustrative classes. And you have a good character design class, but that's the only design class that we have. So
so we're
that's
going to
one
be
of the things we're
expanding
looking to expand.
in that concept art design problem solving from really some really good people that they're working on classes that you won't find anywhere else. Materials 2. Materials 2 is coming.
Oh, yeah, I've talked about that one. I'll throw that one out there.
Yeah, it is.
Materials 2 will be the next course that I develop after I wrap up portraits, which I've started recording. I'm actually at the recording stage of that. And I've outlined what Materials 2 will cover, but I haven't properly started developing it.
Like the exercises or the demos yet.
It will be, if you liked Materials 1, it will deliver the same general approach as Material 1, but actually go a little beyond that. I'll explain more about that later when I'll teach it in a way that makes it more versatile than necessarily what I did in Materials 1.
It's new and improved.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot more experience since we started the school in like seeing people's outcomes and hearing feedback And so we've been just trying to fine tune and improve everything that we're doing now. In every new class, we try to improve our method and breaking things up in a way that people can have more success with, I think. So, yeah. And so we're slow, you know, we're not just spitting out content carelessly and just like, oh, here's some whatever we just threw together. Like, no, we're really deliberate about what we create and want to really make it maximum efficiency and helpfulness to that phrase doesn't make sense at all to the
we want to
the
make
student.
we want to make it very efficient for the student so that they get as much results as possible with the amount of time that you have to put in. And it is, I heard somebody talking about it with business. It was a business video, but they're saying that it's easier to make something complicated than it is to make something simple. It's learning how to simplify something is very difficult. It takes a lot of thought to create a class that doesn't have filler, because by nature,
or that doesn't leave a lot unexplained or unsaid. You know, like step 1, draw the owl. Step 2, paint the rest. You know, step 1, draw circles. Step 2, draw the rest of the owl.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this to slam anybody in particular. We've just had our, you know, we viewed other educational material made by other people in the past, and there's a lot of that where there's a lot of missing steps or things are not explained, or the person doing the demo is just not explaining the decisions they're making or why, and so you really can't implement it on any of your own stuff. So we want to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah, I stopped even buying stuff on ArtStation. I bought a whole mess of things on ArtStation in the past, and because I ran into that so many times that they would demo the thing, but they're not actually explaining the decision making, and they're not showing me how to adapt that information, to use that information myself, or how to practice it. And I come out going, well, I spent an hour and a half watching that
I don't think
demo,
I can really do anything with this.
and going, I'm nowhere further along than when I started.
Yeah.
So,
so that's why we take so long.
That's why we take so long.
Is what we're saying is like the excuse. The best is watch are the many exercises, homeworks, explanations, small pieces, digest better, very unique. I want you guys to teach every secret. We're trying. We're trying to like break everything down, and there's so many aspects to this, right?
If you like the exercises and the homeworks, which I think is one of the standout qualities of the courses, then check out the portraits class, because
He spent so much time making those.
Several months just dialing in the exercises and the homeworks and all the examples and explanations.
But like everything you need is there.
Yeah.
So that there's nothing, you don't have to go out and get other exercises. Like everything is there for you.
Yeah.
I just want to show you this piece too. Actually, you brought it up, and it kind of reminded me of the Rowena Ravenclaw brief. It's kind of, I mean, just take the kids out, right? We had not seen this before.
I just came across that today.
We hadn't seen this when we wrote the brief, so I don't know if this is a new piece or what. I'd never seen this. But it's basically this, I guess.
She's got a sort of austere presence there. We got the floating books. We've got a sort of classroom study sort of place. Yeah, literally take the kids out.
And you guys know what we would do, right? We would bring down the value of these windows. Not criticizing the artist, that's just what we would do. But overall, like, the pose comp is, that's totally in line with what we were talking about.
And it's no more complicated than it needs to be.
No, and that, honestly, when you're on a client job, you want to just try to avoid making things unnecessarily complicated so that you don't put yourself in a situation where maybe you'll run out of time to solve it.
Yeah. Okay, we're at 3 hours. I think we've answered all the questions that have come in. Guys, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you picked up a few art tips along the way today. And join us again in 2 weeks. We'll take a look at the finals, how these wrapped up, and again, we'll give some more observations at that point.
Really excited to see everyone's finals.
Okay, guys, take care. We'll catch you in 2 weeks.